Hello.
Hi, everybody.
So I thought I would begin this week's vlog by talking about how I had feedback from a friend this week who was being quite derogatory about our vlogs and was presenting them in a rather unflattering light. And so much so, well, not so much so, I guess it was so much so in my head because I was ready to pull the plug. Not less than 10 minutes beforehand, I was actually really questioning why we should continue, because it seems like, people in general, even though it was just one individual, people in general, in my mind, were probably not getting any value from this. And then I started to reflect on that, and then I realized that part of the journey for me in doing these vlogs is to really show up and not be preoccupied with what other people think. And that's been a pattern of mine for a long period of my life, up until probably the last 3 years since I've been exposed to principles. I've had this sort of obsession with what other people think, and it's really kind of held me back in so many different arenas in terms of my life, my professional life, my personal life. Just like, how do I show up and how am I present myself? And then this horrible, as I see it now, preoccupation with what other people think. And it doesn't matter. I mean, that's just so limiting to live one's life in that way. For me, certainly, I'll speak for myself, it's been very limiting. So it's been rather liberating just to feel like I can do these vlogs and kind of let go of that worry and that anxiety and just show up and be authentic. And so even though that there's comments kind of like immediately slotted into an old mindset and kind of sort of cajoled me into being very resistant into doing this, I could see that was just an old pattern. It's just an old mindset, an old insecurity that really is kind of, it's a good thing to jettison at this point in my life. I would like to have been able to get rid of it years ago, but I feel like I'm really starting to get a handle on that now. Maybe it's an age thing, I don't know.
Well, there's real freedom in being able to just kind of show up as yourself and not be worrying about managing yourself along the way. And I know for me, I still get caught up in all kinds of thinking, maybe at different times than you do, but oftentimes it's after I do something that I'll feel really insecure about how I came across. And it's not even somebody else saying it, it's just everything that's inside my own head. But I've got better at, the thinking still comes in, but I've got better at not listening to it. And I've got better at seeing that there's no value in trying to use that as feedback to make things better, that all it does is get in the way of me feeling okay in my own skin, really.
So you're inclined to be more preoccupied with performance after the event as opposed to before or during.
Yeah.
Like, you seem to have the capacity to ignore the sort of prevailing insecure thinking, if you like, in the moment, and you just soldier through it. Whereas I can get caught up in the moment, or certainly beforehand.
Yeah.
I tend to be less, maybe, I don't know, I feel like I'm less self-analytical afterwards. But it's the sort of like, it's pulling the trigger, it's the doing that, or getting ready to do, that sort of tends to freak me out.
Yeah, we have different timings for our insecure thinking.
We do. But I guess the other thing that comes up for me is just this idea, and I'm hoping that I come across this way, but I think that when I experience other public speakers or other people, whoever comes up to the mic, whether it's a comedian, a musician, or a public speaker, that when they perform or speak from their heart, then that generally makes impact. So I think that it would be very easy for my ego to sort of want to spend time prepping for these vlogs and getting maybe a script together that we could learn and perform or deliver. But I think, and it could, maybe even if you looked at the transcripts, it could have the appearance of being something that was quite slick. But I think in real time, people see right through that. People actually just want, the thing that really resonates with people is just being able to listen or see or hear someone who's being authentic in the moment, speaking, in a very spontaneous way, which is kind of what we strive to do. And I think initially there was a lot of fear for me around, you know, what that looks like. How am I going to show up? And all kinds of performance anxiety and fear of what people were going to think. So just to be able to let that go has just been like, that for me has been the most value from this journey in doing the vlogs. And I think that's what came forward for me, whatever it was 10 minutes ago, when I suddenly felt like I had a bit of a shift. Initially, I just wanted like to throw in the towel. But then I know, no, why would I do that? Because that's just like, that's an old mindset, that's an old pattern of play, that when things get uncomfortable and you get negative feedback, that's me just being preoccupied with what other people think.
Mm-hmm. And really, by us doing it,
The dog is
Nico's dreaming.
The dog is dreaming.
By us doing it.
Or heckling, I don't know.
He's saying, yeah. By us doing this, we're really, you know, my intention is to point the way for other people to show up as themselves and to just, you're laughing at the dog,
Yeah.
to just go for it, be yourself, share whatever you want to share and contribute in that way, because it's beautiful to be able to connect and hear where other people are at and learn from each other.
Yeah. And if nothing else, this has actually been valuable for me on a purely selfish level of putting myself out there in a way where, yeah, I get to experiment with me just showing up and being me and not give a jot about how other people are perceiving it or hearing it or however they're holding it. That's not something that I ever want to really take into too much account.
And how great that you were able to get that feedback and not let it stop you.
Yeah, nearly did.
But you didn't. You what happened? Because you were ready to stop.
Yeah, I didn't actually think that it actually really made any impression on me until, you know, 5 minutes before, and you were talking about doing the vlog. And then it sort of all came rushing back to the forefront of my thinking and made me feel tremendously resistant. But luckily I was able to get perspective and just see that it was just, you know, I could see first and foremost that the anxiety that I was feeling was an indicator that maybe I'm a little bit out of balance and maybe to not take my thinking too personally. And then upon reflection, I just realized, yeah, you know what, that's just an old mindset just kicking in, and that really to a greater degree, I've let it go.
That's great. And I think that that's what we can all learn from, is to see when we're getting caught up in an old mindset and, you know, anxious thinking, and then realize, oh, I don't want to let that run my life. I don't want to take that seriously.
Yeah. And I think that the beauty in these vlogs is kind of like, you know, it is just being in the moment and seeing what shows up.
Even the dog dreaming.
Even the dog dreaming.
Well, have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.